what I'm going to talk about today is I'm going to cover the kind of integration of FTDNA and Wikitree. And we did cover the kind of first part of that a couple of meetings ago, but particularly as we've got some new members, I thought I would go through just a little bit of a reminder for those that have been members and also for those that are new, just to show now how you can integrate your tree on Wikitree with FTDNA. So it's an alternative to MyHeritage. As we all know, FTDNA has decided not to continue with the tree building software themselves, and they a good while ago now um, decided to use the MyHeritage tree building software and integrated with that. But they have now also made it possible for you, if you've got a tree on Wikitree, you can now connect that to your FTDNA account. And it is so unbelievably easy compared with, um, I suppose, the MyHeritage side of things. You get it at the same place in, um, you get it in the same place as you would get the MyHeritage. So if you go into your account settings from by hovering over your name at the top right-hand corner, and then go into genealogy and family tree. And underneath then where you can manage things on your MyHeritage account, you can similarly manage your Wikitree connection. And literally what you do is you take your, when I say your Wikitree ID, if you're managing somebody else's account, you just take their Wikitree ID and you add it here and save it. And that's it. Um, and then that links people in to your tree on Wikitree. And when you go to a match list, you and hover over the tree, you can see the options, whether there's a MyHeritage tree, Wikitree, or if it's an archive tree. In other words, it's still using the only tree that's there is the old kind of FTDNA tree. So that's what you do in relation to Wikitree. Now, when they made that link between Wikitree and FTDNA, they also said that there were going to be opportunities for doing other things in relation to Wikitree. And so last week they announced the first kind of element of that. And that relates to if you have done Y-DNA or mitochondrial DNA. And you now can take data from your Y lines and mitochondrial lines and over say they over kind of write that with the match time tree. So I'm going to show you that now. So for those that are familiar with on the Y side, they will know that you would use Discover to be able to kind of get a better picture of your Y inheritance and your Y links. And so here is the Discover tool and with your options down the left hand side. And then if you go to match time tree, which is down there about 2/3 down, it then takes you to, and this I'm using an example from our Island McGee project because obviously as well I'm not a male, so I haven't got a Y test. So as an example here, I'm using one of our Island McGee testers. So you can see there, it's actually a ferrous tester, and you can see that he's got the haplogroup RFTB 79497. And this is just a kind of a snapshot from it that you can see that he has other relatively close matches but they're all kind of going back to around about this time period. And you can see here along the top, on the discovered tools, the match time tree, they give you the time scales. So you can see that that's about, what would that be, about 1500, that sort of thing that they do go back to. Um, and if you can kind of enlarge the that scale by clicking on the haplogroup. So I've just clicked on the haplogroup and it takes you back. So you can see there that it's actually around about 1450, that 1460, that sort of time scale. And that's important because of the overlaying of your Wikitree, because then you can kind of orientate yourself better. And so how do you do the overlay from Wikitree? If you go up to display options, which is up at the top of your match time tree, and this is only available in match time tree, and then you go down here, it says Wikitree connections, and it's still in beta. So you just click on that and miraculously this happens. So it brings in, so you can see here, this is our tester from Alan McGee, and it's bringing in his Y line of ancestors. And each of these circles relates to a person on his tree. And you can see there it is aligning, the birth date of these people is aligning with the time scale up here. And then if you hover over, in this case, it's where the blue is showing. So if I hover over that dot, it's then pulling up some more detailed information on this particular case. So this is Robert James Ferris, and it gives you the birth date and the death date. And then if you want to go into Wikitree, you can click here and that will take you into Wikitree and you can get the full information on his profile. And then, just as another example, going further back, you can see here, I've hovered over this one, and it's taking me way back to 1749. We're lucky enough with it, with this tester, that we've got a Y line that is going back into the 1700s. And you can see there, born 1749, and that is aligning up with the time scale at the top. So it's giving you very useful information that helps you. Now, the key thing is we need to get more and more people onto Wikitree so that this can appear for everyone. You'll see that you actually have to select the display option of Wikitree, and that reflects the fact that there are concerns that sometimes the information on Wikitree is not correct. Um, Everybody is trying to do their best to improve the information, but you can, particularly Y lines going back, there can be inaccuracies. So FTDNA are consciously aware of that, and so therefore they don't want to make it as a kind of given that this will appear. So you have to consciously select it, and they would stress, as you can see there, this information comes from Wikitree and should be verified for accuracy. But it is a really good tool to see where there are potential connections with others. And the more that we can get, more of the Y testers that we can get onto Wikitree to enable us to do this, the better. It also equally applies to mitochondrial DNA. And here, right, you've got at least I can show you my test. So, but the I suppose the key thing with mitochondrial DNA that you're probably for most people talking about going further back in time. So you can see here, I mean, my closest matches are kind of in the what I call the the BC kind of era. But this is me, and I have got, because it's just my Scottish line, my mum's line is from Scotland, and you can see here I've got Margaret Reid. Now, I do actually, on Wikitree, I have got some information further back, but I suppose I put Margaret Reid there because I'm more certain of that. The further back you go, the less certain you are. So I do have some people. So if we look at it for for me, if I go, as I say, go to the display settings, click on Wikitree, I get this. Now you can see here, this is me. And you can see the dot. Now, because, as I say, of the time scales, and there's no way at the minute that you can, at least not that I could find, that you can enlarge things. So you can see that the dots are really kind of quite small to get information in, because the nearest kind of haplogroup common ancestor is kind of going way back. So, but nonetheless, it does show the information. And then I'm lucky enough because they actually, one of the closest matches near to me also is obviously on Wikitree, so I can get some information from that. So if we look and I click, this is my furthest dot back, and as I say, I'm anything beyond the mid 1700s, I'm not 100% confident with. But I suppose it is good there that at least, I mean, it is a strong possibility that Agnes Miller is my direct ancestor on my mitochondrial line. So it at least it provides that information. But as I say, there is that caveat saying that it is in the interest of the person looking at it that they should verify it for accuracy. And then, as I say, I'm lucky enough that the person nearest to me also obviously has information, not going back as far, but you can see that their furthest back ancestor is Susan Barnett, although they do say it's Cynthia Small, but anyway, Cynthia Barnett, and that's going back to 1830. But as we say, the person hasn't kind of jumped the pond yet, because they're still back in the United States. But it is, you can see how it potentially is going to start to give us useful information on our Y and mitochondrial lines. Then I can't do this without looking at Martin's DNA. Um, so he's lucky enough to have to manage two tests that are matching here. So this is his uncle and this is Martin. I have privatized it, but I'm sure he doesn't mind me indicating who is who. You can see that they're actually going back into, obviously because it's his uncle, we're talking about much closer relationships. And you can see where, so if I click on Wikitree, this is what happens, and this is where it is really very good. You can see where not only are they giving the actual lines and the dots, but they're actually making the connection and making the connection between the two at the right level. So you can see there where they're saying basically that this is the common ancestor between these two lines. So it is very useful from that point of view. Also, because we're talking here about a kind of closer relationship, you can enlarge the information. I have kind of been fiddling around with it and I have found a way to enlarge the dots um, at this kind of closer level. You can't seem to do it at when you're talking about the wider scale, but maybe they'll kind of work on that. But you can actually then literally see who the dots are. And also, if you do click on them, you get the same information that I showed before. And you can go directly into Wikitree to get the full information on the individuals. So it's really, I think, providing us with really useful information that is going to help us to analyze our Y and mitochondrial lines. And all I would say to kind of end this presentation is to really to encourage you to, if you haven't already, um, to think about putting all of the information onto Wikitree, because it is going to not only provide useful information to you, but also informations to others that are close matches and help you to analyze your DNA. So they are going to, I think, do more with Wikitree. They're going to be able to do more with Wikitree, but this to me is a really good start, and is going to be extremely useful. The one caveat that I would say is that because of the security constraints at Wikitree, that will be a slight barrier. And but for very good reasons, they are they don't allow you to put DNA of people that are still living, and they do restrict things for living people. You're not really meant to put a profile on, although there's nothing to stop you. But they would encourage you, if you do put a person on, that you actually then get them to join Wikitree and add their kind of DNA details. But there's nothing to stop you kind of putting it on and then putting their ID on their account. But because then of privacy, it restricts you in terms of the information that you can see.